Hello, and welcome to Francis Comfort News Channel. I'm your host, Kaylee on the Spot, reporting to you live regarding affordable housing options in the states of New York, Washington State, and Oregon. On this channel, we discuss all things related to real estate. If that is something that interests you, please follow for more. Micro apartments are back after nearly a century as the need for affordable housing increases. Every part of Barbara Garcia and her family's single room apartment in Seattle has a double or even triple purpose. The 180 square foot, 17 square meter room is filled with the air mattress where she, her partner, and their children ages 2 and 4 sleep. It's also where they play or watch TV sometimes. At mealtimes, it becomes their dining room. It's a tight squeeze for the family of asylum seekers from Venezuela, but at $900 a month, more than $500 less than the average studio in Seattle. The micro apartment with their bare bones bathroom and shared kitchen was just within their budget and gave them a quick exit from their previous arrangement sleeping on the floor of a church. It's warm, we can cook for ourselves, we have a private bathroom. It's quiet, said Garcia, whose family came to the U.S. to escape crime in Venezuela, and so she could also access vital medication to combat cysts on her kidney. We can be here as a family now. Boarding houses that rented single rooms to low income, blue collar, or temporary workers were prevalent across the U.S. in the early 1800s. Known as single room occupancy units or SROs. They started to disappear in the post war years amid urban renewal efforts and a focus on suburban single family housing. Now, the concept is reappearing with the trendy name of micro apartment and aimed at a much broader array of residents as cities are surging homelessness struggle to make housing more affordable. If you're a single person and you want a low cost place to live, that's as cheap as you're going to get without trying to find a subsidized apartment. The Pacific Northwest is the leader of this form of affordable housing. Oregon last year passed a bill opening the door for micro apartments, and Washington state lawmakers this year did the same, starting to clear red tape that for years has limited construction of the tiny units, which are about a third the size of an average studio apartment. The Washington bill, which was signed this week by Democrat Jay, after receiving nearly a great amount of support in the legislature, would require most cities to allow micro apartments in residential buildings with at least 6 units, according to the Department of Commerce. It takes effect in late 2025. Therefore, if you are in the Oregon and Washington state area, be sure and stay updated with all the updates regarding the micro apartments because you guys have some great things coming your way, but you have to stay tuned. The legislation is an effort to counteract skyrocketing housing prices and in the Seattle area, one of the nation's highest rates of homelessness, as well as a critical housing shortage. Extremely low renters, those below federal poverty guidelines or earning 30% of the area median income, face a shortage of 7.3 million affordable rental homes, according to the National Low Income Housing Coalition report republished last week. Such households account for 11 million or nearly 1/4 of renters nationwide. I have not mentioned the National Low Income Housing Coalition within the last couple of videos. However, I do not want you guys to forget that the Take Action page is still live and waiting for you to express the need for long-term solutions for affordable housing. Yes, this was in the 1900s. We still needed it throughout the 2000s because what have may been affordable for you may not be affordable for the next person. Yes, I understand zoning, construction, and things like that. However, if there's a will, there's a way, and they approve the things that they see a need for. So they need to hear from you and others about the need for affordable housing. Representative Mia Gregerson, who sponsored Washington's bill, said she predicts the measure will lead to thousands of units being built in her state, providing unsubsidized affordable housing to everyone, from young people getting their first apartment and elderly people downsizing to those coming out of physical or mental health treatment. That's a great statement that Representative Mia mentioned because on this side, we mentioned the young, middle, older, and the seasoned folks that upgrading your quality of life that can happen by using any vehicle for upward mobility. Some vehicle we need affordable housing. Some vehicles one may need college for upward mobility. So whatever the basic needs for individuals that they need to reach self-actualization, then it needs to be done. Affordable housing is a basic need. Maslow hierarchy need. It is a basic need for one to reach self-actualization. The government can't close that gap all by itself. It has to have for profit market rate housing built all at the same time, said Gregerson. The U.S. lost hundreds of thousands of SROs in the last half of the 20th century as associations with poverty and substandard accommodation sparked restrictive zoning laws. Some cities outlawed their construction altogether, a law some housing experts say helped contribute to the homelessness crisis. Facing that crisis and a critical housing shortage, cities and states across the nation are now shifting their stance. In December, as her state grappled with the massive influx of immigrants, New York governor announced a $50 million program aimed at repairing and renovating 500 SROs across the state. New York City lost at least 70,000 such units between the early 20th century and 2014, according to a report from New York University's Furman Center. But there is a concern that this type of affordable housing is not an ideal fit for an actually vulnerable group slash families. There are more than 3,800 unhoused families with their children in the Seattle area, among the highest in the nation, according to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development 2023 one-night count. Cities need to focus on building affordable housing that also include larger units such as studios and a one-bedroom apartments. My biggest concern is that we will see them as a solution and don't do right by our community members by building the housing that people want, she said of micro apartments. The bill passed by Oregon lawmakers last year requires local governments to allow single room occupancy units in areas zoned for residential use. The provision took effect January 1st. Central City Concern, a Portland based homeless service nonprofit, leases more than 1,000 SRO units, both subsidized and not, to people who are considered extremely low income. It helps people struggling to access housing due to things like eviction histories and poor credit scores. Units have a median rent of $550 a month, making them a vital option for people experiencing homelessness or living on fixed incomes, such as those with disabilities, said Sarah. Over 80% of tenants were formerly homeless, she said, and some have been living in their units for 30 years. As costs continue to escalate in Portland, it gives them a chance to stay in their home. One individual moved into one of the nonprofit Marco apartments in downtown Portland last March after years of living on the street. The room, which had a curtained off toilet and sink, is just big enough to fit a single bed, a chair, and a TV. But to him, it's a treasure home that he's decorated with colorful lights, potted plants, and action figures. He uses the small kitchenette, which features an induction cooktop, for making the tea he loves to drink. All I had was a backpack, and that was it, he said. I was just happy to be in here, and I didn't have to spend another winter out there. I just want a home, a nice home, a decent home. Some experts hope the Pacific Northwest will inspire more states to take similar steps. The alternatives are people being in shelters, people being on the street, people being doubled, tripled, quadrupled up, said Vicky. For Garcia's family in Seattle, the tight squeeze is worth it to be in the same complex as their cousins and walking distance of grocery stores, a park, and preschools. They plan to spend the next year in the micro apartment and then move to a bigger place if they can get good paying jobs. We're happy because we're in a quiet place where we can be together as a family, said Garcia. Affordable housing isn't a benefit, it is a right to a just society. As we went over the micro apartment, SRO, occupancy units, it is needed all over the United States for individuals to be able to think, sleep, eat, take a shower, go to work, take your children to school. Whatever that you need to do is why we need these units. Housing has become so expensive that it's ridiculous. Where would we be if we didn't have all of those stresses of paying rent, paying food bill, gas bill, car note? Where would it be if we all had some sort of, let's say this, where would it be if we're always paying $550 a month for rent? I'll wait. Put it in the comments. Where would it be if we all paid $550 a month? You have in some areas a studio is $1,500 a month. No bigger than what we're paying for $550 a month. Where would we be if we all could live in our size homes where we are for $550 a month? All of our basic needs would be met. We have more kind people out in this world, more people willing to help each other, more of this, more of that, more of good community, more of it all, less crime. Where would we be? I would like to know your thoughts and opinions on this video. We talked about Oregon, Washington State, and New York. I am your host, Kaylee on the Spot, and we are checking out. See you next time, guys.